Be honest, have you ever spent an entire day studying only to forget everything the next day? I know it sucks, but here's the thing. It's not your fault. No one has ever taught you how to study. That's why in this video I'm breaking down 10 years of no BS study advices, no wasting time, no fluff. Just the exact strategies to stop studying hard and start studying smart. Number 1. Studying does not equal to learning. One of the biggest mistakes that people do is thinking that studying equals to learning. Only because you spent 3 hours studying, it doesn't mean that you learn all of what you studied. Study is an activity, so the notes you take, the books you read, the exercises you do, there are physical actions that we do with the goal of producing learning. But learning is something different. It's the end result. It's the process of our brain that connects the dots between information, helps us understand it deeply, and allows us to apply it efficiently. If after 5, 6, 10 hours the day after you cannot recall what you read, you cannot put it in practice, it means that you studied, you didn't learn. I remembered the first big exam I had, Calculus 1. I was so desperate to pass it that I spent up to 20 hours a day studying, sacrificing sleep, friends, hobbies, even my mental health. The problem was I wasn't actually learning efficiently. I was studying a lot and that's it. It's not about how much time you spend studying. It's how you do it. The goal is to turn information into knowledge by ensuring you remember it, you understand it, and you can apply it.
Look, this is being recorded the day after that. Yeah. Okay. Number 2, stop thinking about techniques, start thinking about systems. Many students believe in the existence of a perfect technique, but there is no thing such as perfect technique. Something that once mastered can solve all of your problems. This belief is unrealistic. Instead, techniques should be seen as tools. You cannot build a house just with a screwdriver, no matter how good is it. It's the same with studying. You cannot only rely on one and only technique. You need a toolbox filled with techniques that you know how to use. Number 3. Test yourself earlier and more often. Back in high school, I never used to know how good I would do on a test until it came up near the corner, you know. I mean, I usually knew that I was gonna pass it, but I didn't know the actual score that I would get on the test. And honestly, that's not a good way of studying. If you don't know how you're gonna do on the test, it means that you should be practicing more or at least earlier. I used to spend hours rereading my notes, going over the material I had, and only 1 or 2 weeks before the exam, I started going on the exercises and doing practice tests. The problem was there were too many gaps in between what I knew and there was not enough time to fill those gaps. Some students even skip some questions because they know they don't have the answer to those. But that's exactly why you should be testing yourself, because you can find those weak points and fix them. One of the biggest improvements I could make was testing myself every end of the week or every end of the month. For example, every Sunday I would test myself on everything I learned during the week, and at the end of the month I would test myself on everything I studied during that month. And let me tell you, this made a huge difference because I spotted weak areas early. Since I was reviewing smaller chunks of material, I could fix easier those gaps, and by the time the exam came, I basically filled all of the gaps that were missing, and therefore I would walk into the exam knowing exactly how good I would do. No surprises. So if you ever find yourself sitting in an exam and wondering or hoping how good you would do, probably it's because you have not been practicing early enough or with the right techniques or methods. And by the way, if you want a smarter way to study without spending and wasting hours learning stuff that will not stick in your mind, that's why I started using Study, a tool that actually adapts to how you learn best. Instead of just rereading, it makes studying interactive. You can turn your notes into interactive flashcards, challenge yourself with mini-games, and follow a Duolingo-style learning journey designed for university. And the best part, study tells you when and how to study based on what actually helps you retain information. No more guessing and no more wasting time. Just open Notion, study smarter, and watch your grades go up. First 100 users get 20% off with the code STUDY20. As now, at the time of the recording, I think there are like 12 codes left, so hurry up. But going straight to number 4, test yourself in different ways. Let's talk about testing yourself the right way. A lot of people test themselves only one way, but that's a mistake. To explain why, let's use a simple example like learning tennis. There are two types of knowledge. Knowing the what, declarative knowledge, like learning the rules, the techniques, and the strategies of tennis. Knowing the how, the procedural knowledge, actually being able to hit the ball correctly, move your feet, position your back, and this applies to studying too. In math and physics, you need to understand the theories, the what, and solving the problems quickly, the how. Or in coding, it's useless to know the programming concepts, the what, if you don't actually apply them and you start writing code. So the how. The problem is a lot of students focus too much on just one type. For example, math classes push too much on problem solving. So students get good at equations, but they struggle when asked to explain a concept. And that's a huge gap in learning. Not all subjects need both types equally. Biology, for example, is mostly about memorizing facts. But here's the key, you need to test yourself in the same way you'll be tested in the exam. That way you can catch weaknesses in both understanding and application of those concepts before it's too late. So mix it up, test yourself in different ways. Try to practice in the same way you'll be tested in the exam. In this way you will clutch your exams. That's how you build real knowledge. Let's talk about the so-called silly mistakes. You know, those little errors that we brush off like, oh, I knew that, I didn't remember that, or stuff like that are not really as silly as you think. Back in my last year of high school, when I used to practice for exams and check the answers I gave to the questions, whenever I spotted a small mistake, I just used to say, oh, whatever, it's just a silly mistake, I won't do that again, you know. But then, when I got back the test results, the score was lower than expected. And guess what I blamed? Exactly, those trivial mistakes. It took me a while to realize that if I kept doing those mistakes, there was a reason. They were not random. They were signs in gaps of my understanding. If I really knew the material inside out, I wouldn't be making those mistakes. So here's the mindset shift. Assume that each one of those mistakes means something. Instead of brushing it off, ask yourself, why did I get this wrong? Or do I really know the answer to this? In my experience, those students that do a lot of silly mistakes often hide a lot of knowledge gaps. On the other hand, people that have solid foundations on that material rarely do those types of mistakes. So instead of ignoring mistakes, use them as a tool to find out your weak spots. Number 6, study with friends the right way. Don't bother me changing outfit, shaving beard and all of that, but let's keep it going with the video, okay? Okay, studying with friends can be either a full productive zone or a complete waste of time, and it all depends on how you do it. There are two big benefits to studying in a group: accountability and focus. When you're studying with friends, it's easy to stay on track if everyone is actually focused. The problem is that it's too easy to be distracted, and that's why you need a system. So create plans, schedule some maybe challenges for everyone, so everyone stays on track and everyone is aligned on the same objective. Otherwise, it only turns out to be a social hangout. Finding knowledge gaps. The best way to test your understanding isn't just quizzing each other on the subject, is actually creating tests for each other. When you have to design a test, you're actually forced to recall information, organize information, which helps you learn it way better. Plus, when you swap the tests, you get exposed to new perspectives and you can catch the weak points you might have missed. The bottom line is study groups work only if structured well. If you're just hanging out and half studying, you're just wasting time. But if you use it the right way, it can be a game changer, trust me. So these are a few of my lessons that I've learned in the last 10 years of studying the right way. And honestly, I've done a lot of mistakes, and this is everything I've learned from them. Since I want to do more of this, if you like this format and want more, let me know. I'd love to get deeper into this nerdy stuff. And if you want to make study fun and still be productive, check out this video where I explain how to gamify your study sessions. It might just change the way you learn forever.